filled with such a sense of gratitude and joy. Gratitude to George McGovern for selecting me and to the Democratic Party for nominating me. Joy for this new chance to serve my country. I accept the nomination of this great party. I pledge myself to your service. I welcome the struggle, and I can already taste the victory. I look forward to working with George McGovern, one of the most honorable and courageous men in public life in our country, a man who loves the land and the people, who has bestirred the best memories and the traditions which our people share, and who has raised the highest hopes which our people nourish. In World War II, I served on the USS battleship South Dakota. At Guadalcanal in December 1942, that battleship suffered more casualties and sustained more hits by major caliber projectiles than any capital ship in the history of the United States Navy. It was rough for the South Dakota then. It's rough now. But the South Dakota sailed through to victory, and so will George McGovern. It's true. And I'm not embarrassed at all to be George McGovern's seventh choice for vice president. We Democrats may be short of money, but we're not short of talent. Think of the comparison, and then you can pity poor Mr. Nixon. His first and only choice was Spiro Agnew. And let us not forget, as we unite here this evening, to express our admiration for Senator Tom Eagleton. The way he took his case to the people and the grace with which he bore himself during that period have given us all an unforgettable example of courage under fire. Tonight, George McGovern has given us another example. John Kennedy's victory, we will always remember, ended discrimination against Catholics. Lyndon Johnson's victory ended discrimination against Southerners. Richard Nixon's election ended discrimination against losers. And now George McGovern has proved that there is no discrimination against in-laws. Let us never forget, all of us Democrats here tonight, that our party is the oldest political party in the Western world, but it's still the party of life. It's been the party, I'm proud to say, in which my family in Maryland has been connected since 1796 when Thomas Jefferson started it. It renews itself with every generation. It seeks new people. It's the party of Franklin Roosevelt's concern for the depressed and the weak, of Harry Truman's toughness. It's the party of John Kennedy's courage and Lyndon Johnson's desire to help people as poor as he was when he was a young man. It is the party of Eugene McCarthy's witness in cold New Hampshire and of Robert Kennedy's desire, and it's the party of Robert Kennedy's desire to tame the savageness of men. It's the party of my friends, Mayor Daley and Shirley Chisholm. Of Averil Harriman and Philip Murray and William Green, of Hubert Humphrey and Cesar Chavez, and of Ted Kennedy and Ed Muskie. It's the party of immigrants, of diversity, and of hope. Walt Whitman once wrote that the United States is not merely a nation, but a teeming nation of nations. George McGovern and I will give a voice to all the teeming nations of America. We will build again the coalition Robert Kennedy dreamed of the Polish people and the Italians and the Irish, of the blacks and the Latinos, of farmers and workers, the party of the streets and the neighborhoods, the party dedicated to the children and the families of America. Because unless all move together, white and black, poor, middle class, and rich, we do not move at all. There must be fairness for each, or else there is fairness for none. But as we meet here tonight, can we say truthfully that we are fair to all? Where is justice missing today in America? I suggest that it's missing most in the life and circumstances of the working men and women of America, white and black. We used to look on massive unemployment only as a problem of the ghettos, but now it appears in Youngstown as well as in Watts, in the steel mills of Buffalo and in the aerospace industry of California, in the textile mills of Lowell and of South Carolina. Tragedy falls upon a man when his plant closes, or his job is taken by a machine in Japan, or an exporter of shoes in Italy, when he suddenly loses his medical coverage and the seniority and pension rights built up over the years, when he feels the clutching fear of not enough money to meet the mortgage or to pay for food on the table. Crime is not only a problem for racial minorities. Millions of citizens of every race live every day under the silent oppression of violence. The new life within our cities is not the dream we saved and worked for. It's uncivilized to live behind triple locked doors, to dread empty and dark streets and fumbling noises at the door. Those who work hard for an ordinary living often find their dreams disappointed. Their neighborhoods are not safe. Their schools do not educate. Expensive new appliances fall apart. Tax laws relieve the rich. Social welfare helps the poor. But nobody helps them. We have recognized racial oppression. We haven't cured it, but we've recognized it. But we have not recognized job oppression. One worker endures the killing monotony of the assembly lines. Another walks on the top of a coke oven where the bricks under his feet are 180 degrees. Another, hour after hour, sits in the fumes of the city bus he drives. The money he makes is taxed more heavily than the investments of those of leisure. A young man of 35 or 40 who entered the workforce 15 or 20 years ago has never had a chance for a college education, for a clean-collar job, for a future promotion and advancement as far as his talents can carry him. Millions of workers, afraid of unemployment, feel imprisoned by their jobs. But 3 months from today, Americans will choose between jobs and unemployment, between peace and 4 more years of war, between special treatment for corporate interests and general neglect of the public interest, between equal justice for all versus special justice for some. The people will choose not merely between 2 men or 2 parties, but between national greatness and national decline. In 1960, Richard Nixon represented national decline, and the people rejected him. In 1972, Richard Nixon has created national decline, and the people will reject him again. Now, it's not just the economy that's declined, nor the cities. It's not just the devaluation of the dollar, at home and abroad. Not just the unfair prices, the soaring taxes, the tax loopholes, and the strict controls on ordinary citizens. The worst decline is in the people's spirit. Americans have been numbed by years of useless war, the savage bombing in Vietnam, and by the cruel and unusual prosecution of technological warfare against a simple agricultural country. We will not feel clean until we rid our souls of that obsession. But the war is not our only sickness. The best fed nation of the world suffers from a famine of the spirit. We have a sense of something missing, something lost. Historically, Americans have been a people of the spirit, but this administration doesn't seem to understand that. Historically, Americans have been a people of compassion, and this administration doesn't seem to understand that. Americans have always been a people with transcendent goals, a people of the highest moral purpose. But this administration seems to think that we are impressed by men concerned solely with power and the manipulation of power. The fact is that America is strong and must remain strong, not only in military terms, but in the power of the spirit. George McGovern and I have a different concept of America's destiny than that one espoused by the Republicans. It is a vision of millions of men and women convinced that they can reach across every barrier of age and race, of income and class and geography, to reclaim control over their own lives, to make their government once again an instrument of courage and candor and concern for every man and every woman. We intend to go out and ask of our young people not just to protest against inadequate schools, but to teach children. Not just to complain about the quality of law enforcement, but to enlist in the police forces or join the workers in the prisons. Not just to make speeches about the third world, but to serve abroad in a revived Peace Corps. Not just to talk about love, but to work with the retarded and the elderly and the lonely and the ill and the blind and the millions of hungry children around the world. This is what America has at its best has been, and this is what it will be again. I'll never forget in the early days of the Peace Corps, an incident occurred about 400 miles up country in West Africa. It was a hot summer day, and seated alongside the road outside of a small African village was a mother and child. The child looked down the road and saw this figure striding down the road toward them and said to his mother, "Look, Mother, there's a white man." And the mother answered, "No, son, that's not a white man. That's a Peace Corps volunteer." We must achieve the day when no one will say, "Look, there's a white man," or "Look, there's a black man," or "Look, there's a rich man," or "Look, there's a poor man," but only, "Look, there's an American working for mankind in his community, in his country, and around the world." The Peace Corps operating in 50 countries was a wide stage, but now we mount an even wider one with new and greater responsibilities in a harder world than we have ever known. But as the philosopher said, one day, after mastering the winds, the waves, the tides, and gravity, after all the scientific and technological achievements, we shall harness for God the energies of love. And then, for the second time in the history of the world, man will have discovered fire.